Be seated. Hide, 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 it hide, 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 hide. Hide, 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 hide,
Adonai Natan, Adonai Lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevarach. Adonai has given, Adonai has taken. Praise be the name of Adonai. Shir Lamalot Esa Einai El Ha'arim Me'ayin Yavo Ezri. Ezri Me'im Adonai Oseh Shamayim Ba'aretz. Al Yitein Lamot Raglecha Al Yanum Shomrecha. Hine Lo Yanum V'Lo Yishan Shomer Yisrael. Adonai Shomrecha Adonai Tzilecha Al Yad Yaminecha. Yomam HaShemesh Lo Yakeka Ve'areach Balayla. Adonai Yishmerecha Mikol Ra Yishmor Et Nafshecha. Adonai Yishmor Tzeitecha Uvoecha Me'ata Ve'ad Olam. I turn my eyes to the mountains. From where will my help come? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. Adonai will not let your foot give way. Your guardian will not slumber. See the guardian of Israel, neither slumbers nor sleeps. Adonai is your guardian. Adonai is your protection at your right hand. By day the sun will not strike you, nor the moon by night. Adonai will guard you from all harm, will guard your life. Adonai will guard your going and coming, now and forever. Eshet chayil miimtza, v'rachop mipnim michra. Batach balev bala v'shala lo yachsar. Gemaltu tov v'lora kol yemei chaya. Kappa parsa le'ani ve'adea shilcha le'avion. Oz v'hadar levusha v'tischak leyom acharon. Pia parcha b'chochma torat chesed al lishona. Sophia lechot beta v'lechem atlut lo tochel. Kamu banea ve'ashua bala v'yahalala. Rabot banot asuchayel v'at alit al kulana. Sheker achen ve'el ve'layofi. Isha yirat Adonai hi titalal. Tinula mi priyadea ve'halua. B'she'arim Maseh. A woman of valor, who can find? Far beyond rubies is her value. Her husband puts his confidence in her and lacks no good thing. She is good, never bad, all the days of her life. She opens her hand to the needy and extends her hand to the poor. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. She anticipates the needs of her household, and the bread of idleness she does not eat. Her children come forward and bless her, and her husband praises her. Many daughters have attained valor, but you have surpassed them all. False is grace, and vain is beauty. A God-fearing woman, she should be praised. Extol her for the fruit of her hand. Wherever people gather, her deeds speak her praise. We now continue with Psalm 23. Chazan Ari will chant for us.
Mizmor leDavid, Adonai rohi lo echsar, binot deshe yarbitzeni, al mei menuchot ינהלני. נפשי ישובב, נפשי ישובב, ינחני ומעגל צדק למען שמו. גם כי אלך בגיא צל מוות, לא אירא רע, כי אתה עמדי. שבטך ומשענתך, שבטך ומשענתך, המה ינחמוני. תערוך לפני שולחן, תערוך לפני שולחן, תערוך לפני שולחן, נגד צורריי. דשנת בשמן ראשי, דשנת בשמן ראשי, דשנת בשמן ראשי, כוסי רוויה. אך טוב וחסד ירדפוני, ירדפוני כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני, ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים.
Adonai is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures, leads me beside still waters, and restores my soul. You lead me in right paths for the sake of your name. Even when I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You have set a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of God forever. We gather with broken hearts to remember and to honor the incredible life of Ellen Kazis-Walker, of Esther Rivka bat Avraham Berachalea, beloved wife of Don, proud and doting mother of Rebecca and Ben, and now Stella and Ryan, sister of Joel and Lewis, beloved sister-in-law and aunt and family member and business partner and community member and friend, classical musician and healer, and this list could go on and on. For all of us, we feel that brokenness and that pain. And we begin to remember her today, just the very beginning of that process of bringing her into our lives through memory and through her spirit. And for all of us, we mourn together. In the book of Lamentations, over the summer, we read one of the lines in particular, Shavat misos libenu nepach le'evel mecholenu. Gone is the joy of our hearts, our dancing is turned into mourning. And this has been a week where our dancing has been turned into mourning. And it's this week that we read Parshat Chukat, which is a Torah portion which is marked by profound loss. It's the week in which both Aaron and Miriam, the brother and the sister of Moses, die. It's a time of mourning for the entire people of Israel, and in their absence, we witness the unraveling of the natural and spiritual order. The water dries up after Miriam dies, and the people, they falter. The loss of these visionaries, these guiding lights, the moral compasses that they were, it leaves a palpable void, much as we all feel today as we say goodbye to Ellen. Our tradition offers many different interpretations and ways and laws of how we're supposed to mourn, but there's one that I was drawn to immediately, and that's Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, who teaches that there are 3 ways in which we can mourn. There's silence, there's tears, and then he says there's song, and he actually thinks of them as different levels. The highest level of mourning is through song. There's going to be a lot of silence. There have already been a lot of tears, and there will continue to be tears. But it feels like there is no better way to mourn Ellen than through song. She moved through the world drawing out the song in others, sharing her angelic voice, not only through music, but through her advice and her presence and her deep and her unwavering love, which is why it is so full in here. And today we're going to begin to listen to the beautiful song. I think really it's the symphony of Ellen's life through the harmonies of her life, the people she loved so much and who love her so deeply. The harmonies that made her life and her song so beautiful and so sacred. And so we're going to hear from Ben, will speak first, her son, and then Rebecca. We're going to hear from Amy Werner, who's a CEO and co-worker at Kazis-Walker Agency, from dear friend and co-leader of the renewal service, Seth Schaffler. We'll hear a recording of Ellen singing, and then we'll hear from Josh Kazis, one of her nephews, and finally from Joel.
Mom, I couldn't have dreamt of having a more perfect mother. Rebecca and I are so blessed to have loved and nurtured and be nurtured by you. Your beauty and love for life will never be forgotten. You taught us what truly matters in life. Nothing mattered to you more than family. Even in your last few days, you brought so much energy and light to every simcha our family celebrated. You were there with Rebecca and me on the happiest days of our lives, marrying our perfect matches and forever loves. You're a fighter, Mom. You taught us all what true strength looks like. When I was a little boy, you were plagued with an undiagnosed neurological disorder that gave you double vision for the rest of your life. I know how hard and scary that was for you, but you never showed it. Not only did this disease cause you pain, but it dramatically altered what you could do in life. You could no longer drive a car or walk straight, taking away so much of your independence. But you never complained, not once. You never, for a second, let us see you struggle. You always pushed on with such strength, focusing on others rather than yourself. You taught me that positivity is a choice. No matter the hand you're dealt, there's always joy and beauty in the world, and that's what we need to focus on. As I got older, your battle with cancer began. You battled through breast cancer with such dignity, and you beat it. I remember when you were at home receiving treatment in bed, you would invite us to cuddle with you and watch TV shows, continuing to show love no matter what you were facing. Then a few years ago, when we got the news that you had stage 4 cancer, I remember sitting down and writing out my hopes and prayers for you. I wrote, I want you to love life. I want you to be comfortable. I want you to see me graduate college. I want you to be at our wedding and dance with us. I want you to be there when our kids are born, and I want them to love you with the same power that I love you. I want them to know how beautiful you are. Mom, you willed your way to accomplish almost all of this in your last years. You loved life with all your heart. You danced with both Rebecca and me at our weddings, smiling ear to ear. And even though you didn't get to meet your future grandkids, I promise that they will know you. They will know how beautiful you were inside and out. They will grow up hearing about you, learning from you, and feeling your love through us. We will carry everything you taught us and pass it on, so your amazing spirit lives on for generations to come. When I reminisce, so many memories flood my mind, but a few stand out. First, when I was little, we would go on so many walks together, just talking about life. We would end our walks by sitting on the big rock across from the street and blow dandelions into the wind. In those moments, I felt such a sense of love and safety. When I think back on special moments together with you, this brings me the sweetest image of your motherly love and our bond. Next, when I turned 15, I really remember sitting with you on the couch on my birthday. I'm not sure why it was such a distinct memory, but at the time you had shared with me how you remembered your own 15th birthday, and how from that point on, each year felt to go quicker, and time seemed to flash by. You told me how important it is to cherish every single day, to take time to breathe, step back, and appreciate what we have. You always had such a beautiful perspective on life, and I promise to carry with this with me always. And lastly, just a few days before our wedding, I sat by your side in the hospital. As Dad put it, you were getting ready for game time, getting ready to be with us on our wedding day. At the time, I thought we still had many months left with you, but I still asked you for advice. What you told me was to focus on the joy in life. You said, there's so much joy, and the rest really doesn't matter. I promise to live my life by your beautiful words, and I promise that Stella and I will one day teach our kids your amazing messages. There's also one memory that makes me smile when I think about you, more of a funny story. When I was about 12 years old at summer camp, I wasn't exactly eager to do my summer reading, which I think is a trait I definitely inherited from my dad. And when you came and visited me on visiting day, you asked me if I had done my reading, and definitely were not shocked by my answer. You challenged me to a game of horse and basketball, saying that if you beat me, I'd have to read my book. I accepted instantly, thinking there was zero chance you'd even score a point on me. Keep in mind, even before your neurological disorder, you weren't exactly much of an athlete. But in a display of true motherly love, you somehow started shooting like Larry Bird and beat me with ease. That's the kind of mother you were. When you wanted something for your kids, you made it happen. You had this warmth and energy that drew everyone in. You were the person people went to for advice, someone everyone could count on. When I faced my biggest challenges in life, you were always there to support me, and I will always think of you and what you'd say to me in the future. You were completely selfless. You spent hours every day chatting with me, Rebecca, Dad, and all of your friends and family. Your phone was ringing all day because everyone wanted their time with you. That was a true testament to how special you were. Even during your hardest battles, you dedicated your time to creating the renewal service, performing beautiful music to comfort those in need. You had such a profound impact on so many people. You filled our home with beauty whenever I heard you play piano and sing. I would do anything to hear you perform one more song. You will live on with us forever and ever. I love you forever, Mama.
Ben and I have been so blessed to have been raised by such an amazing, strong, inspiring mother. My mom has always been my best friend. She's held my hand throughout the past 29 years as my biggest source of love, support, and guidance. Mom oftentimes knew me better than I knew myself and was always there when I needed her the most. When I was a little girl, every night before bed, I would go with her to pick out one of her nightgowns for me to hold close as I slept, not wanting to be far from her. In the morning, I would wake up excited for the next day to see what Mom had in store for us, handing my mom back the nightgown from the night before. While my mom struggled with serious health challenges since I was a child, she never let that get in the way of giving me the perfect childhood. My childhood is full of beautiful memories, all including and thanks to my mom, who despite her challenges, always showed up for Ben and me in everything that we did, present in every aspect of our lives from childhood into adulthood. As a child struggling in school, my mom would sit with me every night as I cried my way through homework time. She would hold my hand and we would work to get done what I could get through, with Mom telling me that my best was always enough. This continued throughout my life, from teaching me how to love and respect myself and others, supporting me with my personal and professional growth, and inspiring me to find the beauty in everything. She was so loving and understanding and my biggest source of encouragement. A few years ago, as I was getting ready to finish graduate school and Ben was about to graduate from college, my mom learned that both of our graduations were set for different times on the same day. The issue was Ben's graduation was taking place in New Orleans and mine in Philadelphia. My mom spent weeks coming up with a very strategic plan to make it to be at both graduations, always wanting to be there for the both of us in all that we did. The ultimate blessing was holding my mother's hand 4 days ago as I married the love of my life, Ryan, under the chuppah in my parents' living room, and sitting next to my mother last week under my brother's chuppah as he married the love of his life, Stella. Mom fought so hard to be present with us on our wedding days, and she was more than present. She was so engaged and full of joy in spite of all of the challenges that she had been facing. That's the way my mom lived life. So strong, so brave, taking on every challenge with such grace, strength, and a positive attitude. My mom taught me a lot about strength, courage, and always living life to the fullest. Even in recent tougher times, she always moved through life with grace, positivity, and gratitude. Now, as I walk through life, I no longer need to hold her nightgown close because I know that she is forever a part of me, present with me when I go for a walk through Central Park, when I have a warm cup of peppermint tea with some gingerbread cookies, when I light the Shabbat candles on Friday night, when Ryan and I start our own family. She will be a part of it all.
Thank you, Ben and Rebecca. Beautiful. We'll hear from Amy Werner and then from Seth Schaffler. Amy will come first and then Seth. Sorry.
My name is Amy Werner, and I'd like to speak for a few moments about Ellen's professional life, that time after Juilliard and after working in development in the arts, when she joined Don in partnership for life and business at the Kazis-Walker agency. For almost 30 years, we had the privilege of working with Ellen. I speak today on behalf of so many of our current and former colleagues who knew Ellen as a leader, collaborator, mentor, and friend. There are many members of the HWA extended family here today celebrating Ellen's life, grateful we worked with her, and standing with love beside Don, Rebecca, and Ben. And all of Ellen's family, who she so dearly loved. We each have our personal stories of how Ellen touched our lives while working at HWA, and they are personal since Ellen made it so. She fostered a culture that recognized and supported each of us. Early on, Ellen oversaw the agency's marketing, which consisted in large part of sales brochures, catalogs, really, that she wrote, designed, and produced. Each year, the brochure grew thicker and thicker as the agency saw more success, due in no small part to her brilliant partnership with Don. Never a crossword, always a team. She wrote lyrical, compelling copy and was a fierce and tireless editor. I often hear her wise voice in my mind when I'm reviewing my writing today. Later, she spearheaded the agency's first website and digital marketing. She was modern in her open-mindedness, pragmatic, and forward-looking. We always knew where Ellen stood on a given issue. She was an astute negotiator and not afraid to make tough calls that were good for the business. She and Don were partners in strategy, looking at an issue or an opportunity from every angle, then deciding firmly, wisely. When I sometimes needed redirecting, she did so fairly and clearly and always encouragingly. And then there were the times when she would simply say, "I trust you to decide," and she trusted us. Ellen interviewed everyone at the agency, assembling a dream team. She had a keen perception of what made people tick and knew exactly what and who were needed for the next stage of growth. By the end of an interview, Ellen knew everything she needed to know about the candidate, almost a map of their character, and we all hoped to get the job to be able to work with her and with Don. Ellen never had any pretense, was always approachable, warm, and honest. I know this aspect of her character came across even in meetings she had with world leaders and people of great importance to modern history and business. Charmingly straightforward and gracious in all settings, with all people. Ellen made each of us feel important in the ways that matter, seen, heard, encouraged. You could tell that Ellen enjoyed her life. She entered every room with a smile and bright eyes, excited for the connection and conversation to come. She arranged company dinners at a restaurant with a piano, and we would gather around and sing. And that was when I first heard her beautiful voice. She knew us and celebrated our personal milestones. And she shared the celebrations of her life with us at work, especially her joy in Rebecca and Ben. She delighted in her family, so proud, so in awe of the kind and happy adults that you have become. In Deuteronomy 31, we are reminded to be strong and courageous, to be of good courage. Good courage. Ellen's courage was steady. It wasn't loud. It wasn't variable. She was calm in her courage. And in a lesson from me, and perhaps many of us, she remained delighted by the joys of her life, even in the midst of her struggle. That is good courage. She remained focused on her family, on God, on the delights of a stroll in the park with Don, time with her children and their spouses. She even inquired how we were doing and delighted in the news of our lives. When hanging up the phone after a conversation, no matter if it was a quick sort of business call or a longer, more personal discussion, Ellen would end every conversation by saying, "Be well." She offered us a blessing. Be well. Be happy. Be at peace. And she modeled that for us. And so I'll say now, be well, be happy, be at peace. Amen.
My name is Seth Schaffler. Together with Randy Heller, also here with us today, I had the immense privilege and joy of making music with Ellen at Westchester Jewish Center in Mamaroneck for over a decade in what became known as the Renewal Service. The idea for the service began after one of our congregants, Debbie Ron, Aleha HaShalom, suffering from prolonged illness, found comfort in attending Debbie Friedman's healing services. And Arlene Wexler, also here with us today, approached our then and always Rabbi Siegelman to explore the possibility of instituting such a service on Sunday evenings at WJC. Rabbi Siegelman was initially somewhat dubious about the prospect of getting large numbers of congregants to attend the service on Sunday evenings. But he said he knew the perfect person who could make it happen, Ellen Walker, and so the shidduch was made. The service started as basically a standard evening Mariv service, with Ellen singing multiple versions of Debbie Friedman's Misha Berach, but it grew into an hour-long evening of Jewish liturgical music, 5 or 6 times a year, with Ellen as lead vocalist, me and Randy on guitar and piano, respectively, a percussionist, women's choir that attracted over 200 people. It became a highlight of our congregation's spiritual life, which continues to this day. Ellen was the visionary behind what the service became. She insisted that it not be called a healing service, a title suggesting that it was a service meant for sick people, but rather that it be an evening of renewal, a musical experience in which people could find not only comfort, but also fellowship and joy. She was a real perfectionist. You heard this from her work colleague, but it was also true about her music. She would spend days warming up her voice and then remain silent on the day of the service. She meticulously sculpted the set list to create the mood progression she was looking for, all in an effort to raise the spirit of those attending, and that she certainly did. Ellen was a pleasure to sing with, gracefully blending her beautiful voice with ours, even though Randy and I knew very well that she was way out of our league. But when she sang her iconic number, Sim Shalom, while the Torah was passed hand to hand around the congregation, the whole room swayed as one in a unified and joyous expression of prayerful song. It is said that the voice is the expression of the soul. Ellen shared her soul with us, and she touched us and our community deeply with her love. We will forever be grateful. Randy and I will always remember also our renewal rehearsals at Ellen and Don's house in Mamaroneck. Ellen always greeted us with cookies, and Rebecca reminded me of the gingerbread cookies, and tea or coffee. After a few minutes of schmoozing, we sat around and rehearsed at the baby grand piano with their dog Maggie, Aleha HaShalom, snuggled at our feet. These rehearsals were so warm and uplifting, we really didn't want them to end, even after Maggie once ate my hat. Of course, Ellen promptly replaced it. Watching Don pamper and protect Ellen during each performance was also something to behold. He made sure the audio system reflected her voice at its best, that she was comfortable and supported throughout, and proudly counted the number of people who attended. It was a beautiful lesson of the true meaning of love and devotion. No one embodied that more than Ellen and Don. In the prayer Sim Shalom, which you will hear soon, we ask God, Sim Shalom, Tova Uvracha, Chen v'chesed v'rachamim, Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael amecha. Establish peace, goodness, blessing, grace, kindness, and compassion in us and all Israel. This was the perfect song for Ellen because she embodied these characteristics of goodness, grace, kindness, and compassion. Ellen, thank you for sharing your neshama with us. You will be sorely missed.
Sim shalom, tova uvracha, chen v'chesed v'rachamim, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, amecha, amecha. Sim shalom, tova uvracha, chen v'chesed v'rachamim, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, amecha, amecha. Barcheinu, barcheinu avinu kulanu kechad. Barcheinu, barcheinu avinu beor panecha. Sim shalom, tova uvracha, chen v'chesed v'rachamim, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, amecha, amecha. Ki be'or panecha natata lanu Adonai Eloheinu, Torat chayim ve'ahavat chesed ve'ahavat לטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך שים שלום טובה וברכה חן וחסד ורחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל עמך ברוך אתה אדוני המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום.
My name's Josh. I'm Ellen's nephew. Some of the family gathered last night at the apartment with Rabbi Weintraub to speak about Ellen, and I'm here to eulogize Ellen based on the memories that were shared there. Ellen was born in 1957. She was the youngest child of Albert Kazis, a dentist, and Rosalia Kazis. Ellen's brother, Lou. Sorry. Louis, Ellen's brother, was 7 years older, and Joel, my dad, was 4 years older. They grew up in Newton, Massachusetts, in a home crowded with friends, dogs, family, and music. Ellen discovered her remarkable musical gifts as a child. Her grandfather, Harry Kazis, gave her his violin and taught her how to play, and her father, Albert, pushed her to become a performer. Whenever the family would get together, Albert would tell Ellen to play something. My dad remembers that Ellen loved being made to perform like that, but also hated being made to perform like that, but that the experience gave her the confidence to stand up and to play and to sing. Later, soon after, Ellen put aside the violin and turned to her voice. In high school at Newton South, she fell in love with musical theater, and one of Lewis's first dates with Beatrix was to see Ellen star in Kiss Me Kate. And I got to say, this performance of Kiss Me Kate is mentioned all the time today, and must have been quite remarkable. Ellen graduated with a BA from Tufts University in 1979, and with a master's in voice from the Juilliard School. At the time, at Juilliard and after, her specialty was opera, but this is a delicate and important point. A few days ago, my dad and Ellen and Louis and maybe some other folks were sitting together, and Ellen said, "In my eulogy, don't call me an opera singer. Say I was classically trained." So to be very clear, Ellen was not an opera singer. She was classically trained. Her love was for music, for Broadway shows, for Yiddish songs, and later for Jewish liturgy. My dad says that what turned her definitively against the idea of a career in the opera was when another singer told her that opera singers can't have children because children carry germs, and germs are a threat to the vocal cords. So that was the end of that. Ellen went to typing school to get ready for an office job, and Stella says that Ellen called her typing degree from the Catherine Gibbs School the most important degree she ever got. Ellen went to work for London Records, which was, and I believe is, a classical music label, and then for the Kaufman Cultural Center, which is a music education nonprofit in the city. And then she met Don, and the whole story changed. They were married in 1994. The wedding was spectacular. Many of you were there, hundreds of people in the ballroom at the Plaza Hotel. Don's friends started dancing the moment that Don broke the glass, and they hadn't stopped by the time I was sent home to bed. This past Saturday, Don and Ellen and Rebecca and Ben and the family were watching the wedding video, and Ben discovered a new detail, which is that when Ellen signs the ketubah, Don, off in the background, pumps his fist in victory. They lived first in a townhouse on the Upper West Side, and Ellen started working with Don at Kazis-Walker Agency. Rebecca was born in 1995, and then Ellen and Don and Rebecca moved to Mamaroneck, and Ben was born in 1998. In 2001, as you've heard, Ellen became quite ill. The cause, as Ben said, was never determined, but the symptoms had an effect on her life. She started with double vision, balance issues, and other issues. And it also stiffened one of her vocal cords, which changed her voice for a time and made it difficult for a period for her to sing. Some symptoms ease over time, and some she learned to live with. And even as she was working on recovering and on undoing the damage that the illness had done to her voice, in 2008, as you've heard, Ellen and her friends began organizing the renewal service. And as Don said yesterday, most of the hundreds of people who came to hear Ellen sing these healing prayers had no idea what Ellen had been through and how hard she had worked to be able to sing like that again. Ellen had a deep relationship with her mother, Rosalia, whose precious things fill Ellen and Don's home now. And when Albert died in 2015, Ellen and Don rearranged the Mamaroneck home to welcome Rosalia, who moved there during Albert's Shiva and lived there until her own death. In late 2023, Ellen and Don moved from their home in Mamaroneck back to the Upper West Side. And over the last year or so of Ellen's life, all the attention was on the joyful planning for the weddings. Ben and Stella were married in Westchester a week ago on Sunday. And then when it became clear early last week that that Ellen's condition was worsening, she said she would love to see Rebecca and Ryan get married. And so last Thursday, they were married in the living room. Late Friday afternoon, Ellen told Don and my dad and others in the room that she was ready to move on. They made Shabbos. Ellen mouthed the blessings and smiled, and and she died the next night, about 20 minutes after Shabbos ended. If I may, I just want to add one brief personal thought, which is that the most beautiful sound that I ever knew was the sound around the Passover table when all the Kazis were singing together. The choir was Louis and my dad and Albert and Ellen's uncle. Earl. And most of these voices are tuneless voices. These people sing by shouting and by hitting the table. And you wouldn't want to hear any of them sing on their own. But in the midst of all this shouting, this sort of singing by yelling was Ellen's voice. And Ellen's voice sort of turned the cacophony into music. Her soprano took the noise of Grandpa's voice and Earl's voice and my dad's voice and Lewis's voice and turned it into this beautiful harmony. And the metaphor here is obvious, but even better, it's true that Ellen's presence in so many parts of her life, as you've heard in the last few minutes, with her family, her friends, with my dad and community, made things beautiful around her.
Thank you for all for being here. Oh, I got it. Thank you all for being here. We're so appreciative of honoring Ellen's life in this way. I think I'll put my glasses on. I'm Joel Kazis. I'm one of Ellen's brothers, the middle child. For all of our lives, Ellen and I have been very close. The best of friends, advisors to each other, and confidants. Ellen was born when I was 4.5, and our older brother Lou, as Josh just said, was 7. We grew up in a loving, traditional Jewish family in the 50s and 60s in Newton, Massachusetts. I remember wonderful times when we were young. I would always meet Ellen at lunch recess in elementary school. I was a little older, obviously. We would walk home together hand in hand, always singing, to enjoy peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and soup with Mom waiting for us. We often played together. Our deal was always the same. I would play with her dolls first, and then she would play with toy soldiers with me. We did that for years. We got along beautifully, rarely fighting or arguing, and this continued throughout our lives. Our loving parents, Rosalia and Albert, were always there to support us. And they were supportive of all three of us, but the youngest Ellen was special. When Ellen and my mom wanted a dog has got a long, powerful piece of this family, we got Pierre. It was Ellen's dog and began her lifelong love of dogs. Ben reminded us recently, when we were all sitting by Ellen's bedside, that Pierre was especially protective of Ellen. He was like her third brother, and she truly loved him. No one was going into Ellen's room if Pierre didn't approve. Ellen was close to all of our grandparents, especially Grandma Bessie, our mother's mother, whom she shared a room with for many years. I must say it wasn't easy. Imagine a 5 or 6-year-old sharing her bedroom with a Russian-American immigrant in her late 60s whose first language was Yiddish. But it worked. Ellen had a love and respect for Grandma Bessie and even learned quite a bit of Yiddish. Around the age of 10, Ellen finally got a room that Louis and I had shared. Louis moved into the study in the basement. I took the den. Ellen finally had her room. It became the pink room, and she loved it. Ellen wasn't much for overnight camp. She tried it one summer, but it didn't go well. And years earlier, before she tried it, when I was 8, I remember we were dropping Louis off at Camp Natticook up in New Hampshire. And on that day, I fell in love with camp. I begged my parents to let me stay, and believe it or not, they relented. An 8-year-old, and I moved into a bunk that day. Mom went home, got my clothes, put the names on it, and brought them back up to camp, and tell you the truth, I had a great summer. But for Ellen, who was 3.5, she was devastated. She had expected the two of us to spend the entire summer playing together. She reminded me of this story many times over the years. And I think she eventually forgave me. Ellen was always surrounded by music. She was exceptionally close to our grandfather, Harry, a dentist by profession, but a violinist at heart, as Josh mentioned. Ellen learned so much from him and developed her love of classical music by playing the violin with him. And later, singing became her passion. She starred in many high school plays and sang in the choir in the synagogue of Mishkan Tefillah, where we grew up. Many years later, Ellen met Don, and she was overjoyed, and so was I. It was clear that he was a perfect match. When they first married, Don was living in a townhouse on the Upper West Side, and they began building their family, welcoming Rebecca. Soon after, as it's been said, they moved to Mamaroneck, where Ellen, Don, Rebecca, Ben, and later, of course, the dog Maggie, created a warm and loving Jewish home. We have heard how important, obviously, the renewal service was to Ellen, and it really was. And I just want to add how beautiful a meeting it was to all of us and to her community. Over the past few months, Ellen worked with Ben, Stella, and Stella's folks, Galen and Eric, to plan the most beautiful wedding last Sunday night. The wedding for Belle and Stella took place just a week ago, and it was everything we had hoped for. Ellen was very frail. She had just come out of the hospital on Saturday. It was unclear if she would even be able to attend. The doctor said it was 50-50. But that day, she showed unbelievable strength. She dressed beautifully. She was present for the entire wedding and offered a beautiful personal blessing to Stella and Ben. A few days later, understanding that Ellen's condition was worsening, Rebecca and Ryan were married in another beautiful, beautiful ceremony at Ellen and Don's apartment. The immediate family, Ryan's parents, Cheryl and Bob, were all there, singing and dancing. Ellen looked beautiful and again gave another heartfelt blessing. Rebecca, Ben, Stella, and Ryan, you are truly a beautiful legacy. Don and I received a note from our longtime physician, Dr. Tom Nash. He said, despite Ellen's decades-long series of severe medical problems, whenever I saw her, she never exhibited an iota of pessimism or self-pity. Ellen was also always cheerful, kind, strong, resilient, upbeat, and empathic, no matter how poorly she felt. Yes, inspirational. I will miss my dear sister, our daily conversations, and our walk in the park. Rest in peace, Ellen. You are loved and remembered always. Thank you.
As I say, it's my profound honor, and it has been quite a week with all of it. And I can't thank each of you and all of us. Thank you for your beautiful and those heartfelt memories and words. And I know that the family, I know Don and Rebecca and Ben and Stella and Ryan, the extended family, can't wait to hear all of the stories that you want to share over Shiva in the coming days and also over the weeks, to hear more of that song and the parts that they both know and that they don't know yet. Many of the psalmists, the psalms that we have, the psalmist will begin with Lam Natseach, which is to the conductor. It's a breathtaking image of God as the conductor of the universe. And as we just heard so beautifully, Ellen didn't just live her life through music. She listened, and she heard this still, quiet song of the universe. She understood that life itself is a symphony, as so many of you said, and that no voice was too small or no note was insignificant. She drew out the songs of others, whether it was a waiter at a restaurant or somebody walking down the street she didn't know, or the people that she loved the most who are sitting here, and all of you, her friends and her family and her village, who surrounded her every moment. And she was a healer, not only through her voice and through that renewal service, as we got a chance to hear, but also through the wisdom and presence and the love that she brought into this world. There's a story that they tell in the Talmud about two rabbis. One was Rabbi Yochanan, and he himself was known as a renowned healer, but he became ill himself. And so Rabbi Chanina, one of his friends, came to visit, and he said to him, "Do you wish to be healed?" And Rabbi Yochanan said, "Yes, of course." And so Rabbi Chanina took his hand and he lifted him up. He quite literally uplifted him and he healed him. But the rabbis, they want to know, if he could heal others, how was it that he couldn't heal himself? Why was that? And then they answer and they say that a captive cannot free themselves. One who's stuck isn't able to do that on their own. And I think that we heard in so many ways that Ellen, in some senses, actually had this unfaltering inner strength and this ability to see the good in everything, despite 25 years of this unimaginable health challenges that she faced. And she did have that strength in some ways, that she was able to heal herself and then turn outward and heal others. And like Rabbi Yochanan, though, she wasn't able to do it all herself. And she had this unwavering support, this unbelievable team and cheerleaders of her family, her beloved family. And as I say, each of you here, but particularly Don, you were her rock. You were her tech crew, her partner, her greatest champion. And together, the two of you built a home that was filled with such love and such laughter and honesty and devotion, an unbelievable Bayit Ne'eman in Israel. And your children have that and hold that up as they begin this journey of building their homes together with Ryan and with Stella. And to Rebecca and Ben, and also Ryan and Stella, there are few children who care for their parents the way that you have. You showed up. You called every day, if not more than once a day. You changed wedding plans, you changed wedding dates, and you held it all. Both of you, all of you. And she loved you so much. She loved you so much. And she loves you. She was endlessly proud of you, of everything you are and everything you do. She welcomed Ryan and Stella as her own, and that smile that all of us hold, that inner peace, that sim shalom that we sing about and that we pray for at your weddings this past week is always there. We started and we sang about this lamentations of saying that our mourning, our dancing was turned into mourning, but the psalmist, just like Ellen, is an optimist. And we also say, Hafachta misbedi lemacholi, that our mourning is going to be turned into joy and into dancing. And though it won't feel the same, it will happen. And I know that that love that she had for you, that kind of love, it doesn't go anywhere. It's never going anywhere. It stays, and it's going to stay forever. And you're going to hear it. You're all going to hear it. You're going to hear it through her song and through the still, quiet song that we hear in the universe. And the one that she taught each of us to listen for, whether it's in the tiny crumbs on the table, or it's in the piano that sits in the corner of the room, even if it's silent. And of course, through her kind and quiet and powerful strength, she will be so missed, and her song will be sung and will be heard forever. Zichrona libracha, Ellen's memory is and always will be a blessing through each of you and through each one of us. Before we conclude with a prayer for Ellen's soul and El Malei Rachamim, just a few announcements following this service. The burial is going to take place at Cedar Park Cemetery in Paramus, New Jersey. We're going to line up those who are joining us on 96th Street between West Side Highway and West End Avenue. So those who are going to be joining the Levaya, the escorting, will be joining 96th between West Side Highway and West End Avenue. And for those who will be joining for the Shiva, Don and Rebecca and Ben and Louis and Joel and the entire extended family is going to be sitting at Don and Ellen's apartment, which is at 360 Central Park West, apartment 10A. The Shiva hours will be Tuesday through Thursday, so Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 8 a.m. to 12, with Minyan Shacharit in the morning at 8 a.m., and 6 to 9, with Mincha at 7:30 p.m., and then on Friday, July 4th, there will be Shiva from 8 to 12 p.m. in the morning, and a Shacharit service at 8 a.m. I'll invite everyone to rise in body or in spirit for El Malei Rachamim.
El Malei Rachamim shochen במרומים המצא מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה במעלות קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים. את נשמת אסתר רבקה בת אברהם ורחל לאה שהלכה לעולמה. בגן עדן תהא מנוחתה. ענה בעל הרחמים, הסתיריה בסתר כנפיך לעולמים. וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתה. אדוני הוא נחלתה. ותנוח בשלום על משכבה, ונאמר אמן.
El Malei Rachamim, exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of our beloved Ellen, who has gone to her eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May her soul be bound up in the bond of life. May she rest in peace, in shalom. And let us say, Amen. We're going to invite up our pallbearers. We'll have Rebecca and Ryan, Ben and Stella, Josh, Saul, David, Mayor, and Yankee as we escort Ellen to her final resting place.